Who would ever believe the shofar has so much power? I don't know if I told you the story. I probably did. If I didn't, I should have. But in any case, if I didn't, and if I did, so maybe I'll tell it again. But the story is with the Alter Rebbe and Napoleon and sounding the shofar. Did I tell you that story? I must have told it to you. Well, anyway, I'll tell it to you again. And when Napoleon took over, Napoleon was amazing. He just totally startled and overpowered all of Europe. First of all, his main thing was he was a soldier. He was a soldier, and he was an expert in cannons. In that days, cannon warfare was like missiles now, or like lasers or something. That was like cut of the edge technology, and knowing how to use cannons properly and to move your cannons to be able, the cannons should be movable and to reload them and to aim them. It was a whole big art, and he mastered it. So he conquered one country after another, these amazing victories, and he defeated odds that were greater than his, and everyone was just totally afraid of him. And not only that, he was a very, you can call it a spiritual person. He had these ideals and principles, and it wasn't just, bloodthirsty, we're going to conquer just for the sake of liberty. And so all of the Jewish people, they were all in favor of him. And all the religious Jews and the Chassidic Jews, they were all in favor of him, except for the Alter Rebbe. And I guess the Alter Rebbe's friends, but I never read about that particularly. But the Alter Rebbe was fire against him. And he said that if Napoleon wins, as it's going to be good for the Jews, it'll raise the glory of the Jewish people physically, materially, but spiritually, it'll just be a tragedy. In any case, nobody listened to what he said. And the Alter Rebbe even sent a spy, Moshe Meisels, he sent a spy there. That's the separate story, to sit in Napoleon's room, in Napoleon's war room. And Napoleon was a bit of a sorcerer. He knew like black magic or something, because when he on his way to conquer Moscow, so he took his troops and they went into Liazin with the Alter Rebbe's. And he wanted his troops to either get the Alter Rebbe or to get any possession of the Alter Rebbe's. And I read about this stuff, and there's a thing called sympathetic magic. I think that's what it's called. You get a possession of somebody and you can put a curse on that person. Anyway, the Alter Rebbe was very, very afraid of Napoleon, very afraid of him. I mean, in any case, even if you want to rule out the sorcery part of it, but for sure the mazel was shining on him. He was winning battle after battle. He was knocking down kings, and he was freeing the Jews. He was freeing the Jews from anti-Semitism and from this. But his whole goal was to assimilate the Jews. The Jews would be part of this, and he even had an idea to make Medinat Israel, and there was going to be a Sanhedrin. And he wanted it to be not religious. They could be just like Medinat Israel today, same exact thing. That's what he wanted. Anyway, so things were getting really difficult. And Napoleon was winning battle after battle, and it came near Rosh Hashanah. I don't know which year Rosh Hashanah, but it was Rosh Hashanah. And it could have been that year. What was it? 1813. 1813. That's when the Alter Rebbe passed away also, a few months after. Anyway, maybe not. Maybe it was 1812. In any case, so everybody knew that whoever sounded the shofar first would his prayers would be answered regarding Napoleon. So all the other Hasidic rabbis, they all got together, and one of them, I don't exactly know the details of the story, so if you find out, in any case, this is the way I heard it. They davened as soon as possible, all of them. They stayed up the whole night, and the first possible moment they could pray, they started praying, and they prayed as fast as they possibly could, and they learned the Torah as fast as possible, and they sounded the shofar, and they all realized that the Alter Rebbe had sounded the shofar first. And sure enough, that's what happened. Napoleon, against all odds, he lost. Right? He attacked Russia. He went into Russia, and he won. Basically, he defeated Russia. He defeated Russia, but it cost him so many men, and the winter came in so early that he couldn't really solidify his rule. And he had to go back to France. And when they were going back, so there were all these guerrilla warfare, these that were sniping at them and his troops. And his troops ran out of food, and it was freezing cold, etc. And that's, I said, I understand he went into Russia with like 300,000 troops or some number like that. And he came back with like 20,000. You look it up. Maybe the numbers are wrong, but it was a tremendous, costly victory for him. What do they call it? A Pyrrhic victory? Pyrrhic victory. Tremendously costly. So it came out exactly like the Alter Rebbe said. It came out exactly like the Alter Rebbe said. That the Alter Rebbe, so what's the point of the story? Why am I telling you the story? Because it all depended on the sounding of the shofar. And by the way, all of them asked the Alter Rebbe how he could have done it. I mean, they prayed as fast as possible. You ever seen, I know if you've ever been in one of these Polish minions, I mean, they can finish the whole, Shachris, the whole thing in like, 10 minutes. On the day of reading the Torah, 12 minutes. They asked the Alter Rebbe, how could you have sounded the shofar before us? I mean, it seems from this that the Alter Rebbe finished sounding the shofar before they even started. So to be that much quicker than they are, how could it be? So the Alter Rebbe said, I simply woke up in the morning, and the first thing in the morning, I sounded the shofar. He did it before davening, which on one hand, you can say it's a pretty simple, solution, but the whole idea of sounding the shofar, it has to come on a certain spiritual order, and it has to be preceded spiritually by these other prayers, which these other tzaddikim were able to do. And the Alter Rebbe, he was able to jump over the whole thing, like they say, anyway, the power of sounding the shofar, according to that story, the whole entire history of the world was changed by the Alter Rebbe sounding the shofar. I mean, Napoleon basically was conquering the whole world. He was conquering all of Europe, and Europe, that was the power back then. Could he have made it to America? I don't know what his plans were for America, but nevertheless, he changed the whole course of the world with what? A shofar. So it shows us that the sounding of the shofar is a very, very powerful thing. Okay, so you can say, listen, that's talking about the sounding of a shofar of a big tzaddik. But what? I mean, you know how many Jews sound the shofar? Thousands and thousands and thousands. Come on, it can't be the same thing. Well, that's a good point. But as soon as the Arizal came out and started to explain these ideas of what sounding the shofar is, and especially when Chassidut came out and made it user-friendly, so everybody now can be that one person who changes the whole world. And it could also be that everybody is that one person. It could be that the sounding of the shofar, all those who sound the shofar without the right intentions, God just, doesn't pay to that, any attention to that. But all that sound the shofar with the right intentions, it could be that, that's the game changer. That's the one that changes the whole entire world. And that's what we're learning over here, the importance of sounding the shofar. To the degree that it's important that the future redemption of the entire world, Jewish people first, is going to be ushered in by a shofar. That's going to be a major change for good, much greater than Napoleon made for bad, or Hitler or Stalin, or that communism even dreamed of making. If communism would have gotten world conquest, and there would have been equality, and let's say all the things that communism wanted would have been, so it still would have been spiritually empty. It would have been a meaningless world. A meaningless world. And the same thing, all these other people, Napoleon and Attila the Hun, all these conquerors, Alexander, even if he would have conquered the world in the name of philosophy, of Alexander, he was like a pupil of Aristotle, in the name of philosophy, but still all these philosophies are godless. It would have been an empty world, an empty world. And the shofar is coming to make a full, meaningful world for every person in the world. The Creator will reveal in everything the reason for creation. So let's continue. Here we go. So the Alter Rebbe asked the question, and we got to this. This is the big paragraph here. Let's see. This is the the sentence. This is it. This paragraph. What's it say? The Rebbe Alter Rebbe asked the question. The whole point of sounding the shofar, the whole point of Rosh Hashanah, the whole point of the creation of man, the whole point of the Jewish people, right? It all revolves around the same thing. We serving Hashem. We act, Hashem reacts. That's the reason man was created. That's the reason the world was created. That's the reason the Jews were created. That's the reason God gave the Torah, that we serve Hashem and Hashem reacts to what we do. Hashem does not want to do it alone. The first 6 days of creation, he did it alone. Then he created man. After he created man, and when was man created? Rosh Hashanah. After God created man, he said, that's it. From now on, I'm not going to do the miracles on my own. I want to be a reactor. God is going to be a reactor. God is going to react to what we do. The world is now in our hands, the hands of man. Right? True, God has to sometimes do these amazing miracles on earth when we really mess things up. But still, it's because we mess things up. We have to do something. That's the whole point of Rosh Hashanah. And especially the message of sounding the shofar. Mina meitzer krasi, I cry out from a narrow place, Hashem answers from a wide place. But we have to cry out from the narrow place. Right? That's pretty good, pretty wonderful message. Says the Rebbe, but it seems the message of this big shofar that's going to be sounded is exactly the opposite. The shofar that's going to be sounded to gather the Jews together and wake everyone up. This is the ultimate shofar. Doesn't depend on us. It sounds itself. Yitoka. If so, what type of message is that sending? Why did Hashem do things like that? Why? It should have said, the future shofar is a result of all of the work and the struggles that the Jewish people have served God from the generations. And after that, God rewards us, right? The echo of our unanswered cries through these thousands of years is the big shofar. That's pretty nice. That's romantic. Right? All the Jews that were killed in the Holocaust that screamed, all the Jewish mothers that saw their children get killed in front of their eyes and wept and prayed, and their prayers were not answered, but they will be answered by the great shofar that will be sounded. That's pretty good. The Rabbi says, no, it's not so. The shofar in the future will be sounded on its own, without any arousal from below. How does that work out? We're not going to cause it. So the Rebbe says like this, listen to this. According to this, we can explain the connection of Yitaka b'shofar gadol, the sounding of the big shofar, which is going to be automatic, the Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, which that means nothing is automatic. Seemingly two polar opposites. The big shofar in the future is going to be totally God's business. Doesn't even have a name. It'll be sounded on its own. And Rosh Hashanah is that it all depends on us. How does this fit together? And why is it called a shofar? Why is it called? Hashem shows a shofar. There has to be something narrow at one end, and then there's something wide at the other end. That's a shofar. The answer is, Because that in the future there's going to be sounded a great shofar in order to arouse at the ovdim, those who are lost, vanidachim, and those that have been, how do you say, rejected, pushed out, pushed away. Who is because these Jews that are lost and that they are totally, how do you say, losers, rejected, nidachim, heim betachlit hamitzar. This is the ultimate narrowness. They don't serve God. They don't want to serve God. They don't recognize God. They don't know that they're Jews. They're totally out of it. They're not, they can't do anything. No arousal from below at all. They're out of the picture. Says the Rebbe, no such thing. These Jews that are totally, how do you want to call it, incapacitated. As far as they're brain dead, heart dead, out of it Jews. These Jews, this is what arouses and draws down this sounding of the big shofar. That's why Hashem has to sound it on his own, because these people don't do anything. They can't do anything. But nevertheless, this is what arouses God. The situation has gotten so bad. There's Jews that are so far away from Judaism. That's what arouses the big shofar. In other words, they arouse it not because they can't do anything. They can't do anything. Like I say, they're brain dead, they're heart dead, they're just gone, right? These Jews are, says that's what arouses the big shofar. Tachlit HaMerchav, the ultimate farness. And we saw that with the Rebbe. This is another, maybe one of the main reason to say the Rebbe is the Mashiach. Besides that he fills all the other criterion, because he cared for Jews that didn't care about Judaism. He cared about Jews that were totally, for Jews in Russia, that their mothers, their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers didn't know they were Jewish. And the Rebbe cared about them. Jews that were, that's called in the Mitzrayim. Jews that are, these Jews, that's the ultimate level of narrowness. This arouses the big shofar, Tachlit HaMerchav, the ultimate bigness. And that's, like I said, this Mimor was said right after the 6 Day War, and that's pretty much what happened in the 6 Day War. I told you a story about my depressed uncle that I had, right? When the Jews won the 6 Day War, everybody in the world knew that it was God. Everybody in the world knew it was the God of the Jews. Everyone knew. Okay, how they covered it over, that's another. But nevertheless, there were a few weeks over there that even the Israeli government, they couldn't cover it over, right? They try as much as they try. The furthest away Jews, all of a sudden, this is the connection of the big shofar to Rosh Hashanah. Tika b'chodesh shofar. There's a speaker in Israel, Rabbi Yecheskel Sofer, excellent speaker. And he says that there's pictures of these paratroopers, Israeli paratroopers, famous picture. Israeli paratroopers, all these paratroopers, they came from like kibbutzes. The Israeli kibbutz, I don't even think there exists such a thing anymore. These Israeli kibbutzes, they used to have pictures of Stalin on the wall. It says Shemesh Lamim, he's the illuminator of the world. They used to eat pork on Yom Kippur and things like that. And these soldiers, there's pictures of them crying at the kotel, weeping at the kotel. What is the kotel? Just a big, I told you the story of Matagur. He said, Jerusalem is in our hands. And he said, I'm not a religious person. I never was a believer. But I can tell you that I'm touching the rocks of the kotel, and I am overwhelmed with emotion. Vani mitragesh, he said. So all of a sudden, that's the big shofar. Ki inyan Rosh Hashanah, the whole thing of Rosh Hashanah is the Al Yadeshu Rosh Betchila, by means that it is poor in the beginning, may Rosh Hashanah, by means of that, who mit asher, therefore it becomes rich in the end. Rosh Hashanah, Reshit, Rosh means poor, or Ashir means rich. The ultimate level of poverty that a Jew can reach are these Jews that are pushed away into Ashur and Mitzrayim. The Rebbe said Ashur means richness also. Jews that because of plenty, they leave Judaism. They're far away. And then there are Jews that the opposite, like in Russia, the Jews that because of spiritual poverty, right? The Judaism was like forbidden to teach Judaism 70 years. Those are the Jews in Egypt and those are the Jews in Assyria. What we can say, the Al Yadei Tikir Shofar by means of this big shofar, Bichdei, in order to arouse those people who are lost in the land of Ashur and that are pushed away in the land of Egypt. By means of this, Nasa Ilui, there's also made an elevation in the land of Ashur and the land of Egypt. Let's just take it simply. Ashur means America, Europe, and Mitzrayim means Russia. In America and Europe, Jews left Judaism because of the richness. You do whatever you want. You have money. There's no bother, no worry. You don't need God. You certainly don't need religion. Certainly you don't need Judaism and all these rituals and things like that. Get along with everybody else. That, and in Egypt, Mitzrayim, you don't even know there's any. You don't even know there is such a thing as Judaism. It's just, the most ridiculous thing in the world. Why a person would want, religion. We have the government. Who knows what they indoctrinated everybody there. So it says, by means of this, that the Jewish people will be aroused. Even in those that are in America and Europe, Ashur, and those that are in Russia, Mitzrayim. It says, by means of that, there becomes an elevation also in America and in Egypt and in Russia. Those countries. Why? Kikavan, but the whole reason that the Jewish people, Galula Eretz Ashur, the reason that the Jewish people were sent into exile in Ashur, in America and Europe, and Eretz Mitzrayim, and into Russia, until Sha'al Yedei, by means of this, they became lost. V'nidachim, and they became pushed away. Why did God do such a thing? I mean, nothing happens accidentally. In order, Sha'al Yedei Meitzer Agalus, that by means of the darkness and the narrowness of Gullus, Ubafran, and especially the Gullus of those people, Sha'al Yedei Agalus, that by means of it, Nasa, they become Ovdim v'nidachim, they became lost and pushed away. By means of this, Yitorer v'yumshach hashofar gadol, will be drawn down the big shofar. The big shofar. I mean, there's a lot of Jews nowadays that they never even heard the word Jew. They don't even know, and if they did, they certainly don't know that it's relevant to them. But there are Jews that are living, in Russia and these places, they never even heard the word Jew. I have a long story that I have to tell, and I'm not going to tell it now, but I think maybe I even told it to you. But anyways, this was years ago, but I was flying on a flight, on an LL flight, I think it was, coming back to Israel. This is from the Rebbe. Coming back, and I stood up and I put tefillin on people, and I discovered over there that there was a whole school, a Jewish school, and these kids knew they were Jewish. They knew it from Texas, and they had never seen tefillin before, and never seen tefillin. They had no idea what it was. One kid saw that he saw his grandfather once do it. Another kid, when he said that, another kid said, "Oh, I think I saw it in a movie." They had no idea, never saw it whatsoever. They had no idea what Judaism is. No, they were going to America, to Israel. A lot of people, they come to Israel, like to make a bar mitzvah where in Masada or something. It's just completely confused. It says these people In the end, America has made them like this, but it's made them like this in order that by means of this will be the big shofar. B'chidei, in order, she'al yedei meitzer hagalut, that by means of the darkness of the exile, or befrat, and especially the exile that made certain people lost totally and pushed away, yit orer, will be drawn down the big shofar. And there's never look at another Jew and say, wow, these guys are really far out. I do Torah, I do commandments, at least I do something. These people don't do anything. They are eating not kosher. They're terrible. No, says the Rebbe, these people that you think are far away, they're the ones that are going to cause the big shofar. They're the ones that are going to cause the future redemption. They're not doing it on purpose. But they don't know. They didn't know. Their parents didn't know. Their grandparents didn't know. By means of this, Yit'ali Yisrael, the Jewish people, will be elevated, the Madrega Nali, to a higher level. Madrega Shahayukodam Shagalu, before they were exiled. When the shofar sounds, the Jewish people will be in a higher level than they were in the second temple and in the first temple, and even than they were in Mount Sinai. And therefore, when there is sounded this big shofar, and there will be completed the intention that for its sake, the word Ashur, Assyria, what are we saying? America, Europe, and Russia was created. That's the only reason it was created. So the Jews would be there, they would get lost, and by means of this, Hashem would say, okay, enough, and he would sound the shofar gadol. So therefore, there will also be an elevation also to Russia and to these other places. And I don't want to jump the gun over there, but if that's what it seems is happening with the Chabad houses all over the place. The Chabad houses all over the place. They're making a big deal that there's a Chabad house in Dubai. And Putin in Russia, he's very close. Who knows if you can trust the guy, but I personally think somehow or other you can, that there's some sort of a real point of real genuineness in him. And that the whole idea of him meeting with the Chabad house is genuine, happy Judaism. It had a big effect on him. It has a big effect on him. And the same thing with Trump and his, in America, his son or whatever is his son-in-law or something. I think it's his son, right? His son-in-law. He goes to Chabad. What's the point? The point is that all these terrible countries, by means when they see the Jews are returning to Judaism, this gives a certain elevation to them. God should help that it should happen quickly in America. The situation is shocking over there, and that's exactly what the Rebbe is saying. That because it's so shocking, those people that are those Jews that are furthest away, they're the ones that are going to cause the big shofar to be sounded. We Chabadniks and people that are making them do tshuva, we're just sort of a means to the end. They're the real goal. I hope you say, according to this, and not only are they the goal, in some way, even the countries that they're in are the goal, right? America itself becomes elevated. I hope you say, according to this. Now we can add on another thing, the sheikhs and the connection of the sounding this big shofar on Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, there are two things. First of all, Rosh Hashanah is the day, Yom Brias Olam, is the day that man was created. By means of this, that man was created, Nase Ilui, there is, by means of this, made an elevation in the whole entire world, like we're going to learn, Kedlakaman. What does it mean? Man was not created to get out of the world. I think, I'm almost sure, all the religions in the world stress that the reason we're in this world is to somehow or other get out. Get out. And also, I think 90, who knows how many percent of the religious Jews say basically the same thing. We're in this world in order that we should get out clean. We should get out without doing any sins or minimum and come out and go to heaven, because heaven is eternal. And this world is, just how long does a person live in this world? 100 years, 120 years. Heaven is eternal. Could be who knows, billions of years. It's certainly worthwhile to suffer in this world. Chabad says no. The reason we're here is to elevate the world. And we haven't got enough time in this world. Should only be we should live forever. Because this world, physical world, is infinitely higher. It gives God pleasure. It says, by means of this big shofar being sounded, let's go back to Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the day that man was created. And man was created, his whole purpose was to fix up the whole entire world, physical world. And the whole idea is, like it says, Admor Rashab, like the Rebbe Rashab. If you notice, the Rebbe is quoting the Rebbes in their order. Right? He brought down the Alter Rebbe and the Middle Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek and the Rebbe Marash, and now he's into the Rebbe Rashab. Nishma Seidim. The Maamar and the Maamar Diver Mascho Zeh on Techilas Masach Zikron Liyom Rishon. The Tzorich Lahav we have to understand. Our Rosh Hashanah is Zeh Yom Techilas Masach. This is on the first day of Tishrei. Well, the world, God began, we talked about this before, God began to create the world 6 days earlier. Shehu Yom Shishi Lamaisa Bereshis. God began creating the world on the 25th day of Elul. And Rosh Hashanah is the 6th day of creation. If so, Eichu Zikron Yom Rishon. How can that be the day Yom Rishon? Right? It's like you buy your wife the anniversary present a week late, right? What are the flowers for? It's for our anniversary. Our anniversary was last week. Yeah, last week. I guess I forgot. Of course you forgot. It's not important to you. That's why. Here's the same thing. What are we celebrating? We're celebrating the creation of the world 6 days late. 6 days late. What time? And we even say it in our prayers. Today is I'm remembering that wonderful day that God created the world. It says, but that was 6 days ago. It's not today. What are we praying? Today is the memory of the first day of creation. It's the 6 days of creation. It says the Ratzon, the B'riyat Olam, the whole will to create the world. This is, if so, the question is, why don't we celebrate the 25th day of Elul? That's when God began to create the world. Why the day that man was created? That was the last day of creation. Says the Rebbe, because that which God created, the physical world, this is what's called chitzoniyat ratzon. This is what's called God's outer will. Panimiyat ratzon, his inner will is Yisrael and the Jewish people. It's like a person goes to work every morning, right? Why does he go to work? Because he wants to go to work. No, he goes to work because he wants the money. Or he goes to work because he wants to serve the people. A doctor. Why does a doctor go to work? He wants health. He would love it, a true doctor, if everybody could be healthy, if he could make some pill or something that everyone would be healthy, nothing would be happier. So then when he goes to the office and he does operations, that's only his external will. What does he really want inside? He wants everybody to be healthy. The same thing with God. That he created the world, that's God's external will. What's his inside will, the panemius will? His inside will is the Jews. What does it mean, the Jews? That the Jews should perfect the world. So don't look at the world and say, oh, the way it is, this is wonderful, this is great, a beautiful sunset. This is exactly the way things should be. No, it's not so. The true meaning of the world can only be revealed by the Jews using the Torah. These two ideas, namely that God created the world, but the world is only God's external will. Two things, Bizmani Hashana are b'chaf hey Elul. That's the 25th day of Elul. That's when God created the world. That's his external will. And Rosh Hashanah, that's God's internal will. Kaf hey Elul, on the 25th day of Elul, that's when God created the world. This is God's external will. That's what. Well, but Rosh Hashanah, on the first day of Tishrei, that's when man was created. And really, if Adam wouldn't have sinned, it seems the whole world would have been Jewish. Because what's a Jew? A person who serves God. That's Penimis. That's why Adam is also buried with Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov in Hebron. Like Kiryat Arba. There's 4 couples there. Yaakov and his wife, Yitzchak and his wife, Avram and his wife, and Adam and his wife. Who Penimis. This is God's inner will. That's what it says. This is the day of the beginning of your deeds, God. Zikron Yom Rishon. Namely what? Rosh Hashanah has 2 things. It is also, main thing of Rosh Hashanah is Techilat Masecha. This is God, the beginning of your deeds. What does it mean in the beginning? This is the reason why you really created the world. This is when everything starts. Hamshachat Atzmus or in Sof, drawing down the essence of God, which is above Ratzon, the Olamos, by means of man. That's the real reason. That's why Rosh Hashanah is called the beginning of creation. Also, there's another thing of Rosh Hashanah, that it's a remembrance for what happened 6 days earlier. Yom Rishon. Sham Shachad Atzmos, that the essence of God is drawn down from the will also into the external will. Chitzonis Ratzon. That's the world. So in other words, on the 6th day of creation, that's when things really began. But what do you mean it really began? That we always have to keep in mind the first day. What's the first day? The physical world. We always have to keep in mind, yes, man is the main thing, the Jews are the main thing. But it's always a memory, a remembrance for that first day. What's the first day? The creation of the world. Here in order to fix up the world. That's why the Jewish people are special. That's why the Jewish people are God's sons. Why Jewish people are God's chosen. What are we chosen for? What are we chosen for? We're chosen to bring blessing and meaning and order into the world. We're God's sons, that we have all the traits of the creator. We want to create. We want to make the world a better creation. That's why the Jews are the main thing. That's Rosh Hashanah. But it's a remembrance for the first day when God began to create the world, because we're here to fix up the world. According to this, now we can understand the connection between the sounding of the shofar, big shofar, and Rosh Hashanah is in these 2 things. Number 1 is Hamshacha Begilui, the revelation of this big shofar to the Jews. Shofar L'Yisrael. This is connected to the beginning of your deeds. That's the Jews. And also the elevation that there will be in what? Not only the Jews, but also in the physical land, the land of Ashur, America, Europe, and Eretz Mitzrayim, and Russia, and all the places that are so narrow. That's Zikron L'Yom Rishon. If so, the big shofar is going to do the same 2 things as Rosh Hashanah does. It'll be an elevation for the Jews, and it'll be a Zikron L'Yom Rishon, an elevation for the world. Big shofar will put meaning in every detail in the world. We learned it in Yom Yom. It says in the future, the rocks will, why are you stepping on me? I'm doing what God created me to do. Are you doing what God created you to do? You're saying words of Torah, you're thinking holy thoughts. So the Jews will give an elevation to the whole entire physical world. Okay, I think we'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow, okay? See you tomorrow.